معرفة.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Thank you very much for this interview. I grew as a normal child, having the same interest that any children in the beginning they have. But I was born with a congenital heart defect. So at my early age, I was banned from sports activities in the school and these things. So that led me from early age towards reading and intellectual activities. And my mother, Hafidhah Allah, she played a big role in encouraging me towards intellectual activities and reading and competitions and writing, and she used to always buy for me any books or comic books or children book or later on any other books that I wanted. So she played a big role in that. My father was, we are from a Abbasid family from the Abbasid Khilafat of Baghdad, who left Baghdad in the year 656. Many of our family dispersed, some in Egypt, some in India, Bahawalpur area, and some in Iran and other places. And my father was a businessman, a trader, and he was self-taught, and he spoke several languages, but he is self-taught in business life. So I also affected by that environment, and he used to read for me some books, some Arab, some English, some Persian, and so on. And at my early years in the school, I was affected by a very good teacher who used to teach us mathematics. But the first 5 minutes of the class, he used to tell us the stories of the Sahaba, the companion of the Prophet ﷺ, and some other interesting stories for children. And you know, children, they love stories. So that was very effective on us, because he was not the Islamic studies or religious teaching teacher, but yet he had this, passion. And after the school time, he used to leave the car. Those days the teachers didn't have any cars. They used to take the ministry car to their area, and he used to live far away. But he used to leave that car and pray in the mosque, which is near to our school, so that the students will be encouraged when they see their teacher praying to go and pray at that mosque. So I started to go to that mosque, and he used to encourage us, and in the class he used to say, "Oh, I saw so and so yesterday in the mosque, he's a good student." So as children, we used to like this attitude. And fortunately, and by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it happened that in that mosque, which is near our school and our home at that time, was one of the greatest scholars in Bahrain. He was a very pious man and a very knowledgeable man. His name was Sheikh Abdullah al-Farisi al-Gachwi al-Siddiqi. And when I went to that mosque for a few months, then I saw him teaching, so I liked to join his circle. And I remained in his circle for more than 1 year, and I studied the basic texts of the Shafi'i fiqh and some grammar and nahu and sarf and other books. So that year, although I was in my about 10 years of age, but I think internally it affected me a lot. And this man was a very pious man. I think, inshallah, he was one of awliya Allah salihin, and his nur and his his passion and his teaching, I cannot forget till today. He is in my mind, and I always make dua for him. After a year, he passed away, rahimahullah, and then one of his nephews, who was also a scholar, competent scholar, and he used to send him to different parts to study in Saudi Arabia and Al-Ahsa area. That time many Bahrainis and Gulf people used to study in Al-Ahsa, eastern part. And then from there he went to Al-Azhar, and so he came back a very competent scholar, and he passed away recently, only 2 years ago, at the age of about 90 years of age, mashallah. And he taught us for several years also, completing the curriculum of his uncle. So I benefited a lot from his teaching and from his guidance, and he was a very passionate teacher, and he had a beautiful voice in reciting Quran and poetry, and I got the passion of like poetry from him. And he himself was a great poet. For example, he wrote the history of the rulers of Bahrain from the time they came out of Najd until they went to Kuwait, and then to Zubara, and then to Bahrain. He wrote it all in a very beautiful poem, urjuza, what we call, in rhyme. And I recited the whole this rhythmic history to him just maybe 1 or 2 years before he died in his house. So that was my early upbringing. So this early study of Sharia enabled me to start at an early age to teach the people who were at my age and younger. So I used to teach them. So at the age of 15, 16, I started to teach in the mosque. And then later on, of course, many other things happened. Maybe it comes in your questions. So I think these are important personalities in my childhood.
معرفة.